Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Heather and today I'm going to be doing the second video that is not Victorian related but has been playing much on my mind throughout this month. So now that we are halfway through October, I've been thinking a lot about how close to the end of the year that we are. It still seems incredibly far away and yet can't come soon enough. I'm sure a lot of you are in that same boat this year. And in terms of books, I've been staring at my TBR and thinking about how many more books I want to read and how little time I have and how many books I'm surrounded by. And I'm almost stymied by which one to pick up first at any given moment. So I thought I would do the Intimidating TBR Tag today because my TBR piles are out of control. I will insert a clip here to show you exactly how much I have lying around. This clip is coming to you on a very cloudy fall day, but so you can see just what the TBR problems are. This is one stack of TBR, along with my currently reading, and then over here, I have those three columns, but wait. There are two more columns at the back, along with my nonfiction bin and my classics bin. Yeah, it's out of control. So after watching Emma's video from Drinking by My Shelf, I will link it down below, she said that she could not find the original video for this tag, so I will believe her and not go searching for it either. If you are the creator, well done, it's a lot of fun. Many people have been doing this tag over a few years now, so please feel free to just type in Intimidating TBR Tag and watch all of the videos that show up and discover some lovely new booktubers. So the first question is, which book have you been unable to finish? And I have to say, without a doubt, that book is The Romanovs by Simon Sebag Montefiore. That's not to say that this book is bad. It is very well done. But it is a monster and very dense. And I just haven't made it back to this book in, I'm ashamed to say, 2 or 3 years. I'm hoping to fix that this November and make this one of my nonfiction November picks. I'm into Catherine the Great's reign, so I'm into the mid-1700s, which is really pretty well done considering it goes from 1613 to 1918. It's a good chunk of the way through, but there's so much more to go. Because I know the further along we get, the more and more complicated the politics are going to become. So yeah, I just haven't gotten around to finishing this yet, but I'm hoping to fix that this year, or at least very soon. The rest of the questions are formed in which book have you not read because format. So the next question is, what book have you yet to read because you haven't had the time? And that book is The City of Tears by Kate Moss. I was lucky enough to win an ARC of this back in February, and I was thrilled. It is the first ARC I have ever won on Goodreads. Unfortunately, I then had to order the first book in this series before I could read this one. Then I had to wait until I had read the first book, which is The Burning Chambers, which I did manage to read back in April or May, I believe. But then I got involved in BookTube and many readathons, and I just haven't had the time to come back to The City of Tears yet. I did greatly enjoy The Burning Chambers, so I'm hoping to get to The City of Tears very soon. This whole series follows the conflicts between the Catholics and the Huguenots in 17th century France. The next question says, which book have you not read yet because it's a sequel? And that is Bella Poldark by Winston Graham. This is the last book in the Poldark series. And I love this series so much. It is comforting, it is gripping, it is exciting, it is everything I could ever want in historical fiction. but I'm just not ready to say goodbye to these characters yet, even after 11 books. I'm not ready to read this 12th one just yet. So quite honestly, I'm holding out until the world is slightly back in order, and then maybe I'll have the courage to read this final book. For those of you who are not familiar with the books or the television series, Poldark follows Captain Ross Poldark on his return from fighting for the British in the American Revolution, and he comes home to Cornwall to discover that his family estate is in a shambles, his father is dead, and his sweetheart is now engaged to his cousin. And it follows his life from there, and the creation of his family, his friendships, his enemies, and the subsequent generations of those initial characters and relationships. I love this series so much. Please check it out if you haven't and you enjoy Georgian and Regency historical fiction. The next question says, which book have you not read yet because it's brand new? And so the newest book on my bookshelf has to be Tomorrow Will Be a Good Day by Captain Tom Moore. Captain Tom is a sweet old man who decided back in the spring that he wanted to do something to help the National Health Service. Yeah, after all the good that they were doing fighting the pandemic, he wanted to give back to them. And so he decided he would walk laps in his garden to raise money for them. And he raised over millions of dollars thanks to social media. And he has since been knighted by the Queen, and he just turned 100 a few weeks ago. So this is his story of having lived 100 years, living through the Depression, the Second World War, and everything that he saw and everything that he has done. And throughout it all, he has been able to keep as his maxim that tomorrow will be a good day. So I'm looking forward to reading this very, very soon, because we all could use a little of Captain Tom's optimism right now. The next question asks, which book have you not read yet because you read a book by the same author and didn't like it? Now, I am going to fudge this question a little bit because I don't think I have any books from authors that I did not enjoy, but I do have one by an author whose works I am scared to read, and that is Perfect by Rachel Joyce. Rachel Joyce wrote The Unlikely Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, which I have heard Jen Campbell absolutely rave about. It's about an old man who hears that his friend Queenie is not doing well, so he decides to walk all the way to her to deliver his last letter to her. Apparently it is an absolute tearjerker, very, very sweet, and I am just not prepared for that right now, so I'm a little bit scared to read Perfect as well. This story is told from the perspective of an 11-year-old boy who experiences something in the car with his mother on their way to school. And his mother seems not to have noticed, but for him, life will never be the same. And he begins to look at everything in his life and realize that the adults in his life are not as infallible as he thought they were, and thus what he and his best friend decide they are going to do about it. It sounds really, really wonderful, but I am frightened that it is going to hit me right in the emotions, which I'm just not ready for quite yet. The next question asks, which book have you not read because you're just not in the mood for it? And that book for me is Snowflower and the Secret Fan by Lisa C. I love the premise of this book so much. I've been wanting to read it since high school. It is the story of female friendship in China, where these two women have husbands who will not allow them to spend time with each other. So they end up writing each other coded messages on fans. And I think that sounds so amazing. I really, really want to read it, but every time I go to pick it up, I am constantly distracted by other books on my shelves, or I just don't get to it in a month. So I really need to prioritize reading this sometime soon. The next question asks, which book have you not read yet because it's humongous? And to be honest, a lot of the books that I've already held up are very, very long books. I think my first 3 were definitely over 500 pages, possibly over 600. But I have 3 more that are also absolutely huge, and reasons why I don't typically want to read them in any given month. The first is London by Edward Rutherford. Each chapter follows a different period in London's history. It starts with a family in London's very beginnings, before the Roman settlement. And then with each subsequent chapter, we follow the generations of that same family through different periods in history. So we follow it all the way from the London settlement through to 1997. It sounds absolutely incredible, and I've heard wonderful things, but it is over 1,000 pages. And during the school year, I do not have the time to devote to a book this long. Originally, I had been saving it for a vacation, because a book over 1,000 pages would definitely get me through multiple plane journeys. But that may have to wait. I may break and read it over the summer because I just can't wait. Edward Rutherford has many other books along similar lines about different places. And in fact, also on my TBR are his books Paris and The Princes of Ireland. But he also has some for Russia, for New York, and I just can't wait to read them, even if it is very large and very intimidating. Another book that is absolutely huge is Patrick Melrose by Edward St. Aubyn. And the reason it is huge is because it is a bind-up of 5 novels, all in one volume, that follow Patrick Melrose from the time when he is a very small boy, and following his very rich family, but also the fact that he is sexually abused and potentially neglected as a child, and then follows him into adulthood and sees him raising his own family and being in the business world, but how his childhood has never left him, and how he becomes involved with drugs and alcohol, and apparently bits of it can be very funny, but also incredibly dark and incredibly moving. And honestly, I'm desperate to read this just so I can watch the series starring Benedict Cumberbatch, but it is huge. So I need a lot of time to dedicate to reading all 5 novels. And the last book that is intimidating sheerly because of its size is World Without End by Ken Follett. I loved The Pillars of the Earth. It was an amazing book. This is its sequel, following the next generation of residents of Kingsbridge and following the life of its cathedral. And I really want to love it. I really, really do. But it is also massive. So I really don't know when I'm going to get to this, but I hope I do very, very soon. The penultimate question, what is a book you haven't read because it was a cover buy that has turned out to have poor reviews? And this is another one that I'm going to twist slightly because I don't know that it's necessarily gotten poor reviews. But it was a cover buy that I have since gotten home and then thought, does this really fit my reading taste? And that is Crimson Bound by Rosamund Hodge. It is an epic fantasy retelling of Little Red Riding Hood, which at its outset sounds really great, but it's not my typical reading taste anymore. And it could be very, very good, but it could also become very, very tropey very quickly. So if you've read it or if you've heard about it, let me know what you think, and that will determine whether or not I give this a try. And lastly, what is the most intimidating book on your TBR pile? Despite all of the huge ones, despite all of the ones that slightly frighten me for one reason or another, this one has to be the most intimidating. And it is Don Quixote de la Mancha by Miguel de Cervantes Saavedra. It is intimidating because, number one, it is huge, and that is written on super, super thin pages, like transparent level thin pages. And it is also written completely in Spanish, in a very old style Spanish that I am not used to yet, certainly not reading chapters upon chapters of it. I do, however, want to read this. One of my professors in college said that she reads El Quijote every year and cries every time she does it, and I can completely see why, based on what I know about it. But I just haven't had the courage to read it yet. But I will one day. I am hanging on to this copy for everything I'm worth, because one day I will be brave enough to dive in. So there we have it. Those are the books on my Intimidating TBR tag. Let me know down below if you have read any of these and would encourage me to pick up one or the other, or if you are inspired to read any of these. And please feel free to do this tag yourself. I'm not going to tag anyone, but I leave it open to all. And until next time, be safe, be well, and happy reading. Bye everyone.